pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of Bowling Green City Council. We're thankful that you're all here this evening. Jamie, would you please begin by calling the roll?
Osbacher.
Here.
Harold.
Here.
Hollenbaugh.
Here.
Jeffers.
Here.
Robinette.
Here.
Roland.
Here.
And Zanfordino.
Here.
The minutes from the meeting that was held on November 19th, 2018 were presented to council prior to this meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to these minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. The minutes are approved as presented. Jamie, do we have correspondence this evening?
Yes, we do. A listing of budget transfers was received from Finance Director Brian Bouchong and distributed to you prior to the meeting for your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the budget transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. The budget transfers are approved as presented. Mr. Mayor, do we have special recognition this evening? I believe that we do.
We do indeed, and thank you very much, Mr. President, members of council, and all assembled. We all know that this last Friday we lost a person that was very special in our lives, a person who was totally committed to public service, and that is George Herbert Walker Bush, President 41. And so he's a person that perhaps some of you got to know when he visited Bowling Green on several different occasions. My first meeting with him occurred in the House members' dining room in the Capitol building in the 1970s when he was first elected as a member of the House of Representatives from Houston, Texas. And those memories have always stayed with me, and it was fun also to, of course, see him in Bowling Green, and on at least one occasion we had a chance to engage in some personal reflections. So out of respect for George Herbert Walker Bush and what he has meant to this country and his commitment to public service, I respectfully ask that we all stand for a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Mr. President, members of council, and all assembled, we have a special proclamation this evening, and it's one that I think is really unique because I don't remember doing this before. So sometimes some of these things become repetitive in that, but I've been asked to, and for you to join with me in embracing the month of December as General Aviation Appreciation Month. And so I'm going to ask Mark Black, our Wood County Regional Airport Manager, to please come forward. Mark? Do you have any board members here at all?
No, they
I know you were hoping that your president could be here in that.
They had other engagements. They couldn't make it. Busy time of year for most of them.
Well, I had great fun meeting with you and your board last December, and I'm looking forward to, again this year, of joining with you for a briefing and an update and so forth, because
Glad to have you.
I have enormous respect for what you all do there and what your service, what you do there means not only for the city of Bowling Green, but for the whole of Wood County, and for certainly for Bowling Green State University. What you've done. Is Sue Clark here? There she is in the back there, but I know from an economic development standpoint, that airport has really meant a great deal to us. It has a long, rich history, and goes all the way back to probably just before the end of World War II, and then there. Yeah, that's right. That's so. So with that, Mark, and I'm going to, after I read this, if you have any comments you wish to make, I would welcome that very much. But whereas general aviation and community airports play a critical role in the lives of our citizens, as well as in the operation of businesses and farms, and whereas the state of Ohio has significant interest in the continued vitality of general aviation, aerospace, aircraft manufacturing, educational institutions, and aviation organizations and community airports and airport operators, like Mark, and whereas according to the Ohio Department of Transportation, Office of Aviation, the stat has a total of 150 public use airports and 7,800 registered aircraft. The state, not the stat. According to the FAA, these airports serve 15,322 pilots. And whereas according to the Ohio Airports Economic Impact Study, general aviation airports in Ohio contribute more than $1.8 billion to the state's economy. And whereas the nation's aviation infrastructure represents an important public benefit, and whereas the Wood County Regional Airport services local and regional needs, as well as the focal point for training the next generation of aviation professionals and pilots through the Bowling Green State University Flight Center. Now, therefore, I, Richard A. Edwards, Mayor of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio, do hereby proclaim December 2018 as General Aviation Appreciation Month. And Mark, it's my pleasure to present this to you on behalf of the city. And thank you. And please feel free to.
First off, I'd like to thank the council and mayor for putting this all together, and thank you for presenting it to us. We also want to thank the city in general just for supporting us all these years and with all that they've done for us. And we always try to give back. Anytime any pilots fly in, we always send them to local restaurants and all the local businesses that we can to try to keep all our dollars local. So we try to do that to help support the city back. And we have the incomes here and the jobs that we have. And right now we have the expansion of the BG Flight Center. That's they're training more and more pilots all the time because there's a pilot shortage coming on right now. And the university had 100 new freshmen in the fall, which added quite a bit to their student load that they were training and educating. I hear they're having about 140 next fall coming in, so there'll be even more. They've got 3 more airplanes that are going to be coming in supposedly by the end of this year. From what I've heard, it can always change. And next year they've got another 3 or 4 that they're going to be getting. So that's why the new hangar, you may have seen the hangar out there in Pool Road that's going up. That'll be to house the airplanes that they have to keep them out of the weather and keep them in good condition and have a nice warm place for them in the wintertime. So that's our main goal right now, is to make sure we can provide all that. Everything's expanding. We got some minor work that we're trying to get the county to help us work with on. Counties, city, or not the city, but the county, the state, and the feds to help generate the money so that we can get all that work done. And we'll just keep moving forward. And we appreciate everything you've done for us.
Thank you so very much, Mark. Good
Thank you,
luck
sir.
to you and your associates there.
Thank you.
You put a very nice, warm, welcoming face on the city of Bowling Green, because so many folks come in and out of here, and as you said, you not only direct them downtown, but over to the university, but help them get oriented. So thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, members of council, and all assembled, I have a very neat thing to do right now, to call attention to something that happened in Charlotte, North Carolina yesterday. Unless you haven't had a chance to pick up the newspaper or to tune in to what's going on in the world of rugby, you're totally missing the point that yesterday morning, the Bowling Green State University Rugby Club beat St. Joseph's University of Philadelphia 29-7 for the national championship. To the best of my knowledge, the last time we won a national championship in anything around here was in 1984 with our hockey program, and we won the NCAA Division I hockey against that hugely exciting game that a lot of us will always remember. I have it on video just to remind myself every now and then of those 4 record overtimes against University of Minnesota Duluth, and that big win. But we all know that we should know that an important person that made this whole program go for the last 50 years has been Roger Mazzarella, who a lot of us knew as Mr. Maz, our science teacher. Mr. Maz, a science man. So, and through our youngsters and so forth, it all, and like so many people in the community, had such great affection for his teaching and what he's meant to the community. But he's also brought along and trained in fine fashion his son, Tony, who is the current coach of the Bowling Green State University Rugby Club. And so I'm going to ask the two of them if they would please come forward here, because I know Tony is carrying something very, very special here.
Oh, wow.
And it had to be one happy ride back on the bus from Charlotte, North Carolina yesterday. And of course, you had nothing but soft drinks all the way back, right? I trust.
Here, let me get on the other side.
But congratulations to you, Coach.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations to you, Roger, the founder.
This is Mason Carrero. He's the president.
Very good. Congratulations to you. St. Joseph University. Now, I knew it was a Jesuit school, long established in the heart of Philadelphia there, and they've been at it since about 1861, as I recall.
That's
there.
right.
And about 8,000 students there, but have a rich tradition, not only in rugby, but in basketball. I
Yes,
think they
that's
maybe
true.
even won a national championship in
Yeah.
basketball there, in NCAA Division I. And I know that it wasn't easy to knock off that school because of their traditions there and so forth. But you really, really showed them who had the upper hand.
Oh, yes.
And I'm just sorry that more of us couldn't have been there to experience that great moment for you. But I know that with my years with the university too, what you've done with this club, I mean, you haven't been able to rely on a lot of resources and a lot of blood, sweat, tears, I'm sure, and a lot of hard work and gutsy determination to keep the club going, fight for your space over there. It ought to have a special name on that as far as I'm concerned, but I don't have any authority over there anymore. But what you've done for this program, putting it on a national face on the Bowling Green State University rugby program, and carrying the name of Bowling Green State University not only throughout the United States to your many tournaments, many colleges and universities that you compete against, but I also know that you've carried it abroad. And so you've really done an outstanding job of carrying the name of Bowling Green State. So with that, I want to congratulate you. And Mason, please, tell us whatever you want
Well,
us to know.
I'll let Tony, you know, they weren't very Jesuit out there on the field yesterday, I'll tell you that. But I know Mayor Edwards has probably forgotten, but the first time we went to the national championship, and it was 1986, he helped us secure the money to actually get out to California. So that's been kind of our special bond, plus the fact that I taught his kids. I was a Mr. Maz to his family as well. But I'll let Tony tell you about a little bit about how we got there.
Yeah, just briefly, it was an amazing season, starting off with a really good weekend of alumni with our 50th anniversary. Unfortunately, we lost to our rivals that day with Ohio State, but it was on a path that we were trying to take. We were trying to change some things, and it took a little bit of getting used to. You know, we had personnel in different spots that we had to make sure were there, and it ended up coming together all at the right time. You know, it's funny that Mayor Edwards mentioned 1984. If people don't remember that. That hockey team actually didn't win the CCHA that year. They lost, and they prior to that year they had lost, and they were ranked number 1, and they didn't even get into the tournament. And so I think the tournament advisors at that point let them in, and they ended up having a great run. And I think that's kind of mirrored what we did this year. We didn't have our best overall season this year as far as the regular season. But sometimes when you put it all together right at the end, that's when you want to do it the most. So it was a great year. The guys were so committed this year. We had a senior-laden team that wanted to make sure that they finished on the right note. And a bunch of them had played in the national championship two years ago and lost. And they weren't going to let that happen this year, and that's what happened. So, good. Mason, did you like to? And this is Mason Carrero. He's our president of the club.
He knows how we keep this thing in the Italian.
Yeah, I don't really.
Are you from Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm from the Cleveland area. Yeah, it was I don't have much to say, but it was a great year. We had a lot of leadership from our senior class, and we knew that we wanted to get it done this year, and that's the one thing we had in goal all season, and we got it done.
And just one last thing, just for Mayor Edwards, this is one of our 50th anniversary coins that we had minted. As soon as I can get it out of here, just for him. But it has the current BGSU logo on it, and it has our former logo on it. And if you look underneath there, it says Nelly Secundus, which is Latin for second.
Very good.
So,
Well, thank you so very much, and this will go into the case out here in the hallway,
excellent.
so others can really enjoy.
But I'm
this.
taking this one.
Again, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Great job. You certainly made Bowling Green proud. We will move on to our agenda now to lobby visitation. Jamie, has anyone signed up to address council this evening?
Yes, we have two people this evening. The first on the list is going to be Joseph DeMare.
Those that have signed up, we ask that you please approach the lectern and the microphone and clearly state your name and address for our record, please.
Hello, my name is Joseph DeMare. It's D-E-M-A-R-E, and I live at 517 South Main Street here in Bowling Green. And I have a letter I'd like to, I've only got 3 copies, but you guys can share, save some paper that way. I also happen to be, besides a resident of Bowling Green, the one of the co-chairs of the Wood County Green Party. And as some of you may know, the Green Party failed to get 3% of the vote in the gubernatorial election, so our party is going to be officially disbanded by the state. But I just want to assure any council members that are worried about it that the Wood County Green Party is not going to go away. We still have about 200 registered Greens in Wood County, and we intend to be an active part of the political scene here in Northwest Ohio. And along those lines, an issue has come to our attention that we would like to bring to the attention of the City Council, and that is the fact that the Ohio House is currently looking at a bill that I think would impact future possible revenues for Bowling Green, and it would have a negative effect on the environment. And I would like to just read this letter to you from the Wood County Green Party to the Council. The Ohio House has passed a bill currently under consideration by the Senate, which would have a harmful effect on the future environment and fiscal health of municipalities such as Bowling Green. The bill currently before the Senate is designated SB 210. This bill would prohibit municipal corporations from imposing a tax or fee on auxiliary containers. And auxiliary containers includes things like cups, styrofoam containers, and specifically plastic bags, such as plastic shopping bags. The reason for this bill is clear. Around the country, small fees of a few cents per bag have been effective, both at raising revenue and reducing the amount of plastic pollution. Studies have shown that being charged as little as a nickel per bag is enough to remind people to bring their own reusable bags to the store. This legislation aims to prevent that from happening in the state of Ohio. This bill is the latest in a series of anti-environmental bills being passed by the state legislature, one of which was the unreasonable setback law on wind turbines, which essentially outlawed wind farms in the state of Ohio. If that setback law had been in place at the time Bowling Green was looking to build its wind turbines, those turbines could not have been built, and they would not now be currently producing electricity at half the market rate. Bowling Green showed great foresight when it installed those wind turbines, and we are asking the council to show foresight again. Establish a plastic bag fee immediately before the state law goes into effect. We might then be able to argue in court that it could be grandfathered in since it was in place before the state law went into effect, just as our turbines have been grandfathered in and we have not been forced to take those down. At the very least, It could give our community standing in a court challenge against this law, which violates the principle of home rule, hurts the environment, and blocks us from a potential source of revenue. And so that's what the Wood County Green Party would like to urge the City Council to consider very quickly, since this bill has come on extremely fast and there hasn't been a lot of time to react to it. But we'd like to ask you to consider that.
Thank you. Mr. DeMare will take your suggestion under consideration.
Next on the list is going to be Mary Hinkelman.
Good evening, Mary Hinkelman. I'm here representing the Bowling Green Chamber of Commerce, 130 South Main Street. I'm here to publicly thank the city administration, Public Works, and the police and fire departments for their help with our holiday parade. It went off without a hitch. If any of you were there to see it, amazing attendance. Even more so than that, the people that were viewing it, WTOL broadcast it live for 2 hours. The commentary was amazing. If any of you didn't see it, you can view it from our website. There's 2 links, first hour, second hour, commercial-free broadcasting. The story that it told about our community was amazing. Jerry Anderson did a phenomenal job. He knows the community so well. I don't think I don't think we'd ever go back. It was just a really good community holiday parade, and the ratings. Pre-promotion, we had 118 pre-promotion commercials for the event. That again brought to the attention everybody about Bowling Green. We had ratings Saturday. I'm so sorry. Saturday regular broadcasting is usually 1.4 to 1.8 ratings. With our broadcasting of the holiday parade, we're at 4.8. So it affected the ratings that much that there were that many people watching. And I know that it was a huge expense for the city to do that. We couldn't have done it without them. I hope we can continue to have your support to continue this event. Now moving on to the next thing on my agenda, our annual meeting for the Bowling Green Chamber of Commerce is January the 26th. At that annual meeting, we will present awards for the Athena, the Zeus, and the Male and Female Citizen of the Year. We are taking applications for those now. The Athena and the Zeus are due by December the 15th. So if you have someone in mind that would be fitting to receive that award, I strongly urge you to get online and put those applications in now. We have a little longer on the Citizen of the Year award, but again, please do not hesitate to jump in there and put the applications in now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
That's all we have.
Very good. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the introduction of new legislation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
in the Finance Committee, I have a resolution transferring previously appropriated funds, an ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2018 and ending December 31st, 2018. I have an ordinance to provide appropriations for the expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2019 and ending December 31, 2019. Finally, a resolution authorizing the municipal administrator to participate in the Ohio Department of Transportation Cooperative Purchasing Program for the purpose of purchasing vehicles, machinery, materials, supplies, or other articles.
Bruce.
Mr. President,
Mr. Hollenbaugh.
I have 2 resolutions from the Community Improvement Committee. The first one is a resolution adopting and authorizing an amended housing revolving loan fund program policy and procedures manual. And the second is a resolution adopting and authorizing an amended community development block grant housing policy and procedures manual.
Thank you, Mark. I have several ordinances from the Public Utility Committee. An ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for supplying annual inventory requirements, underground and overhead lines insurance, sale of scrap materials, and participation in the AMP Joint Purchasing Program in 2019. An ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to purchase water meter reading equipment from Badger Meter. And an ordinance authorizing the transfer of approximately 2.2 acres in the Bellard Business Park to the Bowling Green Community Development Foundation in lieu of dues and declaring an emergency. Official reports. Mr. Mayor.
Back in, Mr. President, members of council, and all assembled, back in 2016, as I recall, you adopted the Welcome Bowling Green initiative. And a lot of good work has gone on. There's been an intensive study effort under the direction of Margaret Montague, who chaired the group. Bruce been quite involved with the Welcome BG initiative. And this week, in response to questions you've raised with me, and we've been trying to schedule time in to meet with the Wood County Economic Development Commission, the board, and also Sue's board, the Bowling Green Community Development Foundation. And we thought we were going to have to wait until February before we could have those meetings. But this week, thanks to cancellation, we'll be able to meet with Wade Gottschalk, the director of the Wood County Economic Development Commission, and his board at 8 o'clock at the Northwest Water and Sewer District. And we've been given the opportunity to present make a special presentation with a focus on not only economic development. We're not going to do the full thing and all the Welcome Bowling Green initiative and that, but to really tie in a very focused way some of the opportunities to enhance our ability to grow the base for employment within not only the city of Bowling Green, but in the county. We're talking about legal immigrants. We're talking about trying to work with. We have been in touch with the larger communities. We're now proposing to do something on the scale of Detroit, Toledo, Cleveland, and Dayton, and their respective counties and so forth. But we are trying to do something to really help move this forward, and also in keeping with the governor, Governor Kasich, and his establishment of a special office on trying to enhance the employability of legal immigrants. And so that will take place this Wednesday. And then on Thursday, Sue has invited us in because of another speaker cancellation. Must be something in the air for December here, Sue. But at the Wood County, the Wood County Hospital at 8 o'clock in the morning, 2 mornings back to back at 8 o'clock, and we'll be meeting in the Bachman conference rooms there. At the hospital at 8 o'clock, joining with Sue's board, and we'll make a special brief presentation to that group as well. So we're hoping we've already met with the commissioners of Wood County. There's been some expression of interest, and so we're hoping to elicit additional support and interest from these respective groups there, and with the focus on economic development and how we can help grow the not only the economy but the base for employment within not only the city of Bowling Green but Wood County. So those are two very important meetings that I'm pleased that we were able to develop. Joe DeMare made an important statement in many respects, and I'm not going to get into all the particulars related to the special interests and understandable interests of the Green Party. But I'm more concerned, as I know you are as well, with the issue of the growing, continuing erosion of local authority to govern what we think we know how to govern best. And so it is frustrating in that regard. And I know there's a host of complexity of issues involved with some of these things, but we should take great pride in our history as a community that's really embraced sustainability, as we all know, thanks to you all, thanks to the community at large, what we've been able to do, not only with the first in the state with wind turbines, but then to grow it through the use of hydroelectric power, thanks to AMP Ohio and the leadership of Brian O'Connell there on that board, but also with the same group with our capacity for solar energy as well. We have the largest solar field of any community in Ohio. And I hate to think, quite frankly, that what would happen without some of these initiatives, where we would be, and what we might be stuck with, and so forth. So it's a source of continuing frustration. I know that I suspect all of you share my points of view. I'm not going to get in, as I said, the issues involved here, but just more of the steady erosion of a local authority. So with that, Mr. President, members of council, that concludes my report, unless you have questions of me.
Other questions for Mayor Edwards?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to comment on the welcoming Bowling Green initiative. I think this is really the right time to be pushing it a little bit. I think if we make a splash and get noticed, that we can piggyback off of some of the efforts of Global Detroit and Welcome Toledo, Lucas County, and others. So it's important that we do this. So I appreciate your involvement and leadership on this.
Thank you very much, Bruce.
And if I might, Mike, make a brief comment on Joe's issue of plastic bags. That's a good issue. I remember when Beverly Elwazani was running, she brought this issue up. And I'm not real sure of the facts here, so I won't use the name of any of the companies, but I understand one of the local retailers is going to be phasing out plastic bags in the near future. So I'm sorry I don't have all the facts on that, but that's germane to the conversation here.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, I think one of the grocery stores is going to phase out plastic bags in 2021, perhaps. But I would like to get with you on that, Joe. My hope is to introduce something at the next meeting. I think this is urgent. I think the erosion of home care is a concern, and really the utter disregard for the environment is a bigger concern for me. So I'll be contacting you about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Municipal Administrator, Ms. Tretter. Other questions for Lori?
Actually, Lori, I do have one, not a question, but a question and a request.
Okay.
We're getting ready for the presentation on, what is it, on the from the development strategy.
Yes, December 11th, yes.
And if it's possible, it would be helpful to me, and I'm sure fellow council members, we could get a map of the area that we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
But annotated with, yes, owned property.
Okay.
Just in just a block, nothing specific about. But I think it will be helpful as we move forward in this discussion to have a quick understanding of the areas we're talking about and how much of it is already owned by.
Sure.
And those demolition notes got me thinking. If you could do that, I appreciate it.
Sure, we'd be glad to.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you. Planning Director, Ms. Saylor. Not with us this evening. Parks and Recreation Director, Ms. Otley.
Good evening. Just a couple quick updates. Some things going on at the community center with the upcoming, well, prior to that, but then the upcoming winter break where the kids are out of school for a couple weeks. But prior to that, Friday, December 14th, we are offering a holiday drop-in shop at the community center for kids ages 5 through 12. So, and in an effort to reduce paper, this is double-sided with everything that I'm telling you, so I'll pass these out to you. And then there are 3 different dates throughout the long break that the kids have off of school, where we have some programs at the community center with different themes for kids to come and kind of burn off some energy, have fun, and interact. So 3 different dates throughout those breaks, 11:30 to 5, ages 5 to 12. So that's all I have, unless you have questions. I mean, there's a really cute kid right there you might recognize.
Other questions for Kristin?
And I didn't make this, so. All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
City Attorney, Mr. Marsh.
I don't like to take your time with reports, but it was going quick. And I wanted to, all of us, I think, take for granted sometimes our first responder services, police and fire. Most of us can live our whole life and never have to call for a policeman or a fireman. Some of you know about 6 months ago, my sister had a fire at her house, and it was a big one. Furnace blew up, car blew up in the garage. There was an internal gas meter in her garage that melted and actually turned her gas line into a torch. Our firefighters bravely, in my estimation, got in that garage and dragged that car outside to try and put out the fire, then did manage to get the fire out, saved enough of the house that it could be rebuilt enough that yesterday her kids moved her back into place. While the fire was going on in a downpour and a thunderstorm, my sister and one of her kids were standing in the front yard with a couple of policemen who stood with them for 5 hours in the rain, which was pretty amazing. I'm losing my voice tonight, sorry. And if you know my sister, you'll get this, but one of them asked her as dawn approached if she needed anything, and she said, yeah, she really needed a Pepsi. So the police officer went downtown, got her a Pepsi and a Mountain Dew, but I think sometimes we take for granted we have one of only a handful of communities in our state that has an accredited fire and police force. We're really, really fortunate that we do. And on those occasions when we do need them, we really have a pretty terrific force. So I just thought you should know that from personal experience.
Mike, thank you for those words. I think that I speak for all of us on council when we say that we most definitely have a great appreciation for the work of our safety services, our police and our fire department. So thank you all very much. It's just another example of the work that they do. Utilities Director, Mr. O'Connell. Questions for Brian? Thank you. Public Works Director, Mr. Kraft.
Well, we got Connie out paved right at the end of November, and it wasn't the best conditions, but it's paved. The pump station itself, we still have some work to do in the spring. We're going to pour that driveway and sidewalk in the spring, just let all that settle out where that big monster hole was and get that cleaned up in the spring. Leaves on our last pass this week. Probably done Wednesday, maybe even Thursday this week, the way things are going, weather cooperates, and then we need to get transferred to winter operation mode, get our trucks converted for wherever Mother Nature's going to throw at us this winter. So that's my report, and I should have questions to me.
Questions for Mr. Kraft?
I have a request for you too, Brian. You know, a follow up to the budget meeting we had, and looking forward to the strategy session in January. Could you put together a more detailed paving, enhanced paving list? You provided us in the slide you built, but one that there's two pieces of information I like, and this is from questions I get. I get more questions about paving than any other subject. But when was the last time the list of the streets, the future needs, future that still need funding? When was the last time they were paved? How long?
For each street?
Yeah,
Sure.
for the streets. And if you have a priority, do you have an internal priority?
Yeah, and what gets complicated is it's easier to have a priority when there's an abundance of money. It's harder to have a priority when it's a little less. So
and if you don't, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'd like to have a little more
Sure.
resolution if possible, so I can answer questions
Okay.
better. But I think from my perspective, that strategy meeting was
Okay.
I'd like to go into the new year with a little more resolution.
Okay, we can do that.
Currently funded. Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. That concludes our official reports. I would ask if there are any council committee reports this evening. Very good. We will move on to the reading of legislation. Jamie.
Legislation for first reading. Resolution number 3720, resolution transferring previously appropriated funds.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I move we give Resolution 3720 its second and third readings.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Jamie, would you please call the roll?
Harold?
Yes.
Hollenbaugh?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
Robinette?
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
And Osbacher?
Yes. Motion passes. The rules are suspended for Resolution 3720.
Resolution number 3720 for second and third reading. Resolution transferring previously appropriated funds.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I move we adopt Resolution 3720.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Jamie, would you please call the roll?
Hollenbaugh?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
Robinette?
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Osbacher?
Yes.
And Harold?
Yes.
The motion passes. Resolution 3720 is adopted.
Resolution number 3721 for first reading. Resolution adopting and authorizing an amended housing revolving loan fund program policy and procedures manual. Resolution number 3722 for first reading. Resolution adopting and authorizing an amended Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Housing Policy and Procedures Manual. Resolution number 3723 for first reading. Resolution authorizing the municipal administrator to participate in the Ohio Department of Transportation Cooperative Purchasing Program for the purpose of purchasing vehicles, machinery, materials, supplies, or other articles. Ordinance number 8734 for first reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2018 and ending December 31st, 2018.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I move we give Ordinance 8734 its second and third readings.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Jamie, would you please call the roll?
Jeffers?
Yes.
Robinette?
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Osbacher?
Yes.
Harold?
Yes.
And Hollenbaugh.
Yes.
The motion passes. The rules are suspended for Ordinance 8734.
Mr. President,
Gotta read it.
Gotta read it.
I refuse to read it.
Thank you. We'll let Jamie read it.
Ordinance number 8734 for second and third reading. Ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2018 and ending December 31st, 2018.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jeffers.
I move we adopt Ordinance 8734.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Actually, Brian O'Connell, I do have a question, actually. I should have asked you earlier. The $1.8 million and increased purchase cost, what is the fund that money is set aside in? Is it just called the Power Purchase Fund?
Power supply.
And you just always keep a little extra in there for...
We try to budget for what we think we're going to expend for the year, but obviously weather contributes a lot to the usage of the customers. So when it's hot, customers use more. We tend to try to be a little more conservative on our estimates, so our revenues are not higher than what they really should be. So in this case, the summer was hotter, so customers use more power, and so our expenses were up a bit. We had to purchase that power to supply them with that energy. That was part of it. Earlier in the year, there was higher congestion charges on the transmission system. So that's really why the costs were higher this year than what we had budgeted. And so the revenue comes from the customers who pay the bill. Just in this case, the budget was under the actual expenses, just because of what the customers used.
Yep. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Jamie, would you please call the roll?
Robinette?
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Osbacher?
Yes.
Harold?
Yes.
Hollenbaugh?
Yes.
And Jeffers?
Yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance 8734 is adopted.
Ordinance number 8735 for first reading. Ordinance to provide appropriations for the expenses and other expenditures of the City of Bowling Green, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2019 and ending December 31st, 2019. Ordinance number 8736 for first reading. Ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to advertise for bids and enter into a contract or contracts for supplying annual inventory requirements, underground and overhead lines insurance, sale of scrap materials, and participation in the AMP Joint Purchasing Program in 2019. Ordinance number 8737 for first reading. Ordinance authorizing the Utilities Director to purchase water meter reading equipment from Badger Meter. Ordinance number 8738 for first reading. Ordinance authorizing the transfer of approximately 2.2 acres in the Bellard Business Park to the Bowling Green Community Development Foundation in lieu of dues and declaring an emergency.
I move to suspend the rules and give ordinance 8738 its second and third readings.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Jamie, would you please call the roll?
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Harold.
Roland?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Osbacher?
Yes.
Harold?
Yes.
Hollenbaugh?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
And Robinette?
Yes.
The motion passes. The rules are suspended for ordinance 8738.
Ordinance number 8738 for second and third reading. Ordinance authorizing the transfer of approximately 2.2 acres in the Bellard Business Park to the Bowling Green Community Development Foundation in lieu of dues and declaring an emergency.
I move to adopt the emergency clause for ordinance 8738.
Second.
Mr. President, I have a question on
Yes.
that. Is this for a property that's already under construction, or is this something new? It's for something new.
Good. New project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further questions? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Jamie, would you please call the roll?
Zanfordino?
Yes.
Osbacher?
Yes.
Harold?
Yes.
Hollenbaugh?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
Robinette?
Yes.
And Roland?
Yes.
The motion passes. The emergency clause is adopted for ordinance 8738. I now move to approve ordinance 8738.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I would just comment that the reason for the expedited processing of this ordinance is consistent with previous economic development projects in the Bellard Business Park and other business parks for that matter. It's always beneficial for us to expedite the process as we're able in order to facilitate the progress of the economic development project. Jamie, would you please call the roll?
Osbacher?
Yes.
Harold?
Yes.
Hollenbaugh?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
Robinette?
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
And Zanfordino?
Yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance 8738 is adopted.
Legislation for third reading. Resolution number 3719. Resolution adopting amendments to the policy and procedure manual for the BG Transit.
Mr. President,
Mr. Zanfordino.
I move that we adopt Resolution 3719.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Jamie, would you please call the roll?
Harold?
Yes.
Hollenbaugh?
Yes.
Jeffers?
Yes.
Robinette?
Yes.
Roland?
Yes.
Zanfordino?
Yes.
And Osbacher?
Yes. Motion passes. Resolution 3719 is adopted. That completes the items on our agenda this evening. Is there any other business to come before council?
Mr. President?
Yes.
In light of the conversations that have taken place tonight regarding efforts by the legislature in the state of Ohio to continue to take away the local authority by passing pieces of legislation that restrict our ability to do what we feel is best for our community, I'm just wondering if there is anything that could be done by this body to get the message to our state representative and our state senator. I know the mayor has authored a great letter to both of them, but is there anything that our body could do to urge them to please have conversations with us about each and every legislation that's going to take away power? Right now, it seems there's 3 or 4 or more pieces of legislation pending right now that we fear are going to be on the agenda before the end of this year. And some of them are going to take money from our city. The energy tax, what's it called, Brian? Kilowatt tax. I knew it wasn't energy. Kilowatt tax is one. That's something to be really worried about. There's others also.
That's a fair point, Sandy. I know that the mayor has been quite proactive in communicating via formal letter with our state representatives in regards to many of these items that you discuss. Please.
Yes. I do get their newsletters, and
So,
I read about it weekly.
There have been instances in the past where similar issues have come before the legislature that we have feared have had an impact on our ability to self-rule our community. In the past, the mayor and I have co-authored letters to our state representatives expressing concerns, of that sort of situation. We'll continue to do so, and certainly I would encourage you as a city council person to
I do.
yeah, contact those representatives and express your opinions, and we will continue to do so as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other business to come before council? Jamie, excellent job. Thank you for your help this evening. We appreciate it. Is there a motion for adjournment? Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.